as the FBI investigates sexual assault allegations against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, it's become clear that he is very much like the president who nominated him. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. The Kavanaugh allegations, perhaps more than any other story, have made Republicans absolutely lose their minds. In the last week, we've seen a nominee for the Supreme Court scream and cry in a Senate hearing, senators threaten their colleagues, and the president give multiple rambling press conferences that were so incoherent, even the closed captioning gave up. And one of the surest signs that Trump is losing his mind over the Kavanaugh crisis is that he's accusing everyone else of going crazy. Trump always deflects criticism by projecting onto others whatever he's accused of, and lately, he's even adopted a new catchphrase.
They have been blind in a blind rage ever since, boy, they lost the 2016 election. They've gone loco. They have gone loco.
These people, they've gone crazy. They've gone loco.
When I won, I said, the good thing is now the press finally gets it. Now they'll finally treat me fairly. They got worse. They're worse now than ever. They're loco, but that's okay. I put up with it. Go ahead. I use that word because of the fact that we made a deal with Mexico.
Oh, is that why? Is that why you used it? We had meetings with Mexico, and they were using the word loco a lot. Apparently it's their word for president. Also, why does he point to his head when he says loco? He can't even do basic hand gestures right. And what is this thing he does all the time? Just some jackass version of jazz hands. Like he's dancing next to Shirley Temple. Trump reminds me of an 80s movie where an alien crash lands on Earth and tries to learn human culture. I'd love to see him flip someone off. Hey man, F you. Trump is going loco because in Kavanaugh, he very much sees himself, a powerful man who's led a privileged life, who's never before been held accountable for his actions, suddenly being challenged over his treatment of women. In fact, yesterday, Trump pretty much spelled it out when he was asked if he had a message for young men in America.
Well, I say that it's a very scary time for young men in America when you can be guilty of something that you may not be guilty of. Somebody could accuse you of something, and you're automatically guilty. But in this realm, you are truly guilty until proven innocent.
Oh, you suddenly care about due process and the presumption of innocence? Because when you mentioned Hillary Clinton at your most recent rally, your supporters were still chanting this. No, I'm sure they meant to chant, "Lock her up," only after a fair trial in which overwhelming evidence of wrongdoing is presented. I mean, obviously, it's a little longer, but complied. Also, it's so sad that they're still chanting "Lock her up." Let it go. Hillary's out there selling books, sipping Chardonnay, and making cameos on Murphy Brown, and you guys are all crammed into a local civic center watching the world's sweatiest man have an aneurysm. Kavanaugh has also lied repeatedly about his heavy drinking high school and college days. Trump was asked about that and decided to talk instead about his own decision to abstain from alcohol.
Well, I don't drink. I've never had a drink. I don't drink beer. I've never had a beer. And I'm not saying good or bad. Some people like it. I just chose not to do that for a lot of reasons. I think that I remember my college days, everybody was drinking. It was like normal. I was abnormal.
Yeah. Yeah, we're aware of that. We all know you're abnormal. And abnormal is the best word for Trump because it's how you describe a weird mole, you know? What do you think, Doc? Well, it's definitely abnormal. It's red, irritated, and all the hair is falling out. So, Republicans have been losing their minds over the Kavanaugh allegations, and last night Trump took his meltdown to a new level, openly mocking Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's testimony at a rally in Mississippi.
36 years ago, this happened. I had one beer, right? I had one beer. Well, do you think it was? Nope, it was one beer. Oh, good. How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know. I don't know. What neighborhood was it in? I don't know. Where's the house? I don't know.
Upstairs, downstairs, where was it? I don't know. But I had one beer. That's the only thing I remember.
I mean, that's the president of the United States openly mocking a survival of sexual assault. There's no rock bottom for this guy. Rock bottom is where he jumped from. And let this be a lesson. Let this be a lesson to everyone who is praising Trump for his supposedly respectful handling of Dr. Ford. You knew this was coming. It's like a werewolf movie where someone says, he hasn't turned into a wolf for 29 days, so I think we're good. Unlock his bedroom. Seriously, man, what's wrong with you? Look at him, red-faced, sweaty. Trump's never had a drink in his life, and somehow he's still an angry drunk. And by the way, your little reenactment of Ford's testimony was wrong anyway. Just because you don't remember the details doesn't mean she didn't. Her testimony under unimaginable trauma was searing and yet somehow still incredibly composed. Meanwhile, if someone asks you one question at a press conference, you melt down like you just saw the Ark of the Covenant.
Should the FBI interview all 3 of Brett Kavanaugh's accusers?
And much like Kavanaugh, Trump has also repeatedly lied about the allegations against him, like the hush payment to Stormy Daniels that Trump's personal fixer, Michael Cohen, made in the closing days of the campaign. Remember when Trump said he had absolutely nothing to do with that payment, then his lawyer went on TV and said he did know, and then took it back and said he didn't know, and then Trump said he did know, and then said his lawyer was wrong when he said he knew?
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels?
No.
They funneled it through the law firm.
Funneled through the law firm, and the president repaid it.
See, excuse me.
You did not know
No, but
anything
you have
about
to.
the payment.
Excuse me. You take a look at what I said. You go back and take a look. You'll see what I said.
You said no
Excuse
when I
me.
asked you
Excuse
if you
me.
know about the
You go
payment.
take a look at what we said.
Yeah, dude, you were asked if you knew about the payment, and you said no. We saw it, remember? You were standing in the aisle of the plane like you were about to take everyone's drink orders. I'll just have a snack. We don't have snacks. You just said you did. Go back and take a look at what I said. Then, of course, it turned out that Trump was directly involved in the payment, and then on Tuesday we found out that in February, while he was president, Trump had personally sought to keep Stormy Daniels quiet.
A source with direct knowledge tells CNN President Trump personally directed an effort to keep porn star Stormy Daniels quiet about a sexual encounter she says she had with him in 2006. In February, the president called his now former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, and instructed him to seek a restraining order against Daniels. The source says Trump directed Cohen to coordinate the effort involving his son, Eric Trump, and an outside lawyer.
You put Eric on the case? I'm not surprised the cover-up failed. I'm surprised we didn't end up with video from 3 angles and a signed confession. So to recap, Trump personally intervened to keep a porn star from speaking publicly about an affair he illegally covered up during a presidential campaign, and he put his 2 dumbest subordinates on it. Although, in fairness, it's not like Trump's surrounded by geniuses. We need to stop this Stormy thing. Who's the smartest guy here? Me? Oh, that's not good. These guys lie. They lie to hold on to power because they think they're entitled to it. That's why they're all furious and indignant when you question them in any way. If you suggest that they broke the law to become president or they shouldn't sit on the Supreme Court, they go absolutely
Loco.
This has been A Closer Look.